Right now, it's being widely reported that one of the largest book distributors in New Zealand, Whitcoulls, is no longer selling Jordan Peterson's book 12 Rules for Life, citing extreme and disturbing images shared before, during, and after what happened in New Zealand. Now, this is a hard story to confirm, but there is some local reporting from New Zealand that seems to confirm this is true. One of the difficulties is that we're operating off of a screenshot of an email, so take this story with a grain of salt. But when you go to Whitcoulls' website and search for Jordan Peterson, his book doesn't come up. At the same time, a book from someone who is alt-right does come up. So to me, it makes the story a little questionable. Either Whitcoulls has no integrity and doesn't know what they're doing, or they never sold Peterson's book in the first place. But assuming this is true, and the reporting is correct, they did ban his book for this reason, it shows the dangers of the culture war. Jordan Peterson's book is a self-help book about standing up straight and cleaning your room and has nothing to do with identitarian extremism. Yet, because of the smears in the media constantly, they are going to remove his book because of it. Today, let's take a look at this story and also some other stories of recent merit where Jordan Peterson is being negatively impacted by fake news and smears. But before we get started, make sure you're subscribed to our new YouTube channel, youtube.com/subversevideos. The goal for this channel is to produce straight-laced news, on-the-ground reporting, and expert interviews to try and cut through the spin and the bias to the best of our abilities. If you like this video, just share it on social media to help spread the message. Our first story from newshub.co.nz. Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life removed from Whitcoulls following Christchurch terror attack. The controversial Canadian professor visited Aotearoa in February, weeks before a gunman killed 50 people and injured dozens more at two mosques in Christchurch. Although Peterson's book promotes self-help rather than violence or racism, he was photographed in New Zealand embracing a fan wearing a t-shirt emblazoned with the words that they were a proud Islamophobe, along with a list of various inflammatory accusations about Muslims. Whitcoulls doesn't specify the exact reason for dumping Peterson's 12 Rules for Life, an antidote to chaos, but the Islamophobe t-shirt photo could be part of the disturbing material referred to in replies to customer inquiries. Unfortunately, 12 Rules for Life is currently unavailable, which is a decision that Whitcoulls has made in light of some extremely disturbing material being circulated prior, during, and after the Christchurch attacks, Whitcoulls says in an email. As a business which takes our responsibilities to our communities very seriously, we believe it would be wrong to support the author at this time. Apologies that we are not able to sell it to you, but we appreciate your understanding. Whitcoulls has been approached for further comment. ACT Party leader David Seymour told NewsHub he isn't impressed. You don't fight neo-Nazism by suppressing reading and books. Anyone who knows any history knows that's the opposite of how you fight these kinds of ideas. A self-help book is an incredibly strange thing to suppress. I think Whitcoulls have made the wrong decision, but I respect they're a private company, it's their right. Searches for 12 Rules for Life and Jordan Peterson both currently return no results on Whitcoulls' New Zealand website. When NewsHub phoned Whitcoulls shops to ask if they had copies of the book in stock, we were told it's unavailable. Upon doing a search for Jordan Peterson on the Whitcoulls website, it returns this book, Jordanetics by Vox Day, who is described by many as being alt-right, and a book called Political Correctness, which includes Jordan Peterson's name. A few images had been going viral, some of which I actually tweeted out myself. I tweeted, so they banned Jordan Peterson's book, but in the first image, we can see the alleged email claiming that Whitcoulls has banned the book. The next image shows that they currently still sell Mein Kampf. And sure enough, searching for this on Whitcoulls brings back 3 different versions at varying prices, as well as a book that claims Islamic society is not compatible with American society. I'm not quite sure what the Islamic book has to do with the other book, but they're certainly still selling many much more offensive books. But for some reason, Jordan Peterson's book 12 Rules for Life comes up with no results. It would seem that this is a rather alarming and emotional, as well as nonsensical reaction to what happened in New Zealand. I can't blame people for being upset and trying to do something, but sometimes you can do the wrong thing. Not only are we seeing a self-help book by Jordan Peterson, a clinical psychologist, banned, but we've also seen that New Zealand has banned several websites. In this story from Ars Technica, 4chan, 8chan blocked by Australian and NZ ISPs for hosting shooting video. Widespread website blocking being used to limit spread of video. The story adds that New Zealand took a similar approach. The country's main internet service providers, Spark, Vodafone, Vocus, and 2 Degrees, are blocking any website which has footage of the Friday 15th March Christchurch mosque shootings. New Zealand Telecommunications Forum Chief Executive Jeff Thorne added that there is a risk that some sites that have legitimate content could have been mistakenly blacklisted, but this will be rectified as soon as possible. I can understand why they want to block certain websites because it hosts this extremely objectionable video, but that doesn't work. And it's the same thing we see from dictators and despots. Countries that want to restrict the flow of information tend to fail because the internet can't really be stopped. There's too many ways to transfer information. Blocking these websites will do nothing, especially when there are dozens to hundreds of virtual private network services. You can just turn that on and go back about your business. All they've done is show that they want to block ideas, they want to block information, but you can't. Perhaps it was a PR move. They want to satiate the outrage of certain individuals who don't understand the internet. Perhaps they want to seem like they're actually doing something. But in this case, as well as in the case of Jordan Peterson, we can see that the path to hell is paved with good intentions. You can't actually stop this information. People can easily order the book from any other website or get a digital version of it, which I'm sure exists in many different places. Not selling the book seems to be more of a political act or some kind of, again, PR move to try and satiate people who are outraged. But this story about Jordan Peterson isn't the only one in the past week or so where we've seen outrage falsely accusing Peterson of holding ideas he doesn't, or accusing him of being far-right or evil in some way. Just a couple days ago, we saw this story from Pluralist. Charlie Hunnam fans outraged after actor reveals his love for Jordan Peterson. Sons of Anarchy star Charlie Hunnam triggered an outcry from outraged fans after he revealed in a recent interview that he's a big fan of controversial public intellectual Jordan Peterson. Speaking to Men's Health about his latest film, Triple Frontier, Hunnam described training with a Navy SEAL in preparation for his role as a former Special Forces soldier. In doing so, Hunnam found parallels between the stoic soberness of Special Forces soldiers and Peterson. I'm a big fan of Jordan Peterson, as are a lot of people right now. He's become quite an internet phenomenon, a card-carrying member of the intellectual dark web, the actor said. I love the message that he promotes, which is, take your life seriously. Carry as much responsibility as possible. I think in his words, he says, pick up the heaviest thing that you can and carry it. Hunnam added that Peterson's maxim was very much the philosophy and mentality of the Special Forces warriors. According to Hunnam, in our culture, everyone's grown soft and entitled. It's like, no guys, you're not entitled to anything, he said. And that just speaks to the importance of getting out there and working for yourself. Unsurprisingly, Hunnam found a stark contrast between Hollywood film industry types and hardened soldiers. I found the attitude of those Special Forces guys to be really, really refreshing, he said. The story goes on to say such naked admiration for Peterson and the purported toxic masculinity he represents did not go over well with many liberal spectators. Blue checkmark possessing writer-comedian Alicia Lutz was particularly perturbed, as evidenced by a 12-tweet-long rant. They say that she described Peterson as a misogyny apologist, idiot empowerer, and ambassador of clods. While I stated just a few days ago there's a lot to criticize Jordan Peterson for, he was right about several things, and he is far from an extremist. He seems to be kind of a centrist, personal responsibility type. One of the reasons Jordan Peterson rose to prominence was because he said that you could be arrested for using the wrong pronoun after a new bill is passed in Canada. And at least in the UK, that's actually true. We just saw this story the other day from the BBC, Surrey police investigation over misgendering tweets. But worse still is a story from February where a mother, 38, is arrested in front of her children and locked in a cell for 7 hours after calling a transgender woman a man on Twitter. They say police officers detained Kate Scotto, 38, at her home in Hitchin more than 2 months after her arrest, and she has had neither her mobile phone or laptop returned. So it would seem that perhaps Jordan Peterson was right. I don't think we're seeing necessarily the same response in Canada just yet, but I think it's entirely possible considering the UK has similar laws and has actually arrested people for it. Now, the point I want to bring up with this video is the dangers of the culture war. If you actually look at Jordan Peterson, listen to what he has to say, you'll say, okay, well, that's rather tepid. Seriously, it's not like he has any extreme opinions one way or the other. He's actually rather moderate. He tells you to stand up straight with your shoulders back, clean your room, and be responsible. But what can we see from the left-wing hit pieces calling him all of the worst names in the book? His book gets banned. And this extends to other individuals. And I was thinking about this recently when I saw a picture of Count Dankula. You can see that he's a white man, he's got big gauges in his ears and tattoos. And when someone sees that, along with the caption that he's a Nazi or a Nazi apologist or something, they don't know anything about Dankula. They've never heard him speak. They don't know that he's got a giant sickle and hammer star or something on his chest. They just see that person and associate him with all of the other neo-Nazi photos they've seen in the past, making assumptions about who he really is, because the media pumps out lies left and right. From this, we can see he can't even get a job. He has no choice but to go on YouTube, where people continually call him a neo-Nazi, which is absolutely not true. If you actually sat down and listened to him, you'd realize he's actually kind of center-left. He used to be rather far-left. But this is the danger of the media, when people are unwilling to do research and don't investigate. When an actor actually listens to what Jordan Peterson has to say, they realize it's rather refreshing. And we can see how these activists try to frame the narrative by taking screenshots of videos and screenshots of articles so that you can't actually read or look into what they're saying. They're doing their best to restrict the flow of information, which once again ends up with a book banning or with websites being banned. It can only lead to one thing: a dystopian nightmare of a future where we've got a little bit of everything. Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, 1984, all mixed together. Information is being censored. Authoritarian activists on the left are demanding more censorship. They're lying about people like me, about people like Jordan Peterson, about people like Count Dankula, because they don't want you to learn and they don't want you to know, because knowledge is power. And when you have the ability to understand other people, you realize maybe Jordan Peterson isn't actually an extremist. He might have said some rather doofy things in the past for sure, but he is a clinical psychologist. He's worthy of criticism, but he also has some pretty good ideas. In fact, he may just be a regular person who wants to have a regular conversation. But of course, they can't allow that to happen. They need to control the narrative, and this is one way to do it: banning someone's book. Let me know what you think in the comments below. We'll keep the conversation going. You can follow me on Minds at minds.com/timcast. Stay tuned. New videos every day at 4 p.m. Eastern on this channel, and more videos coming up on my second channel, youtube.com/timcastnews at 6 p.m. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you all next time.